Good morning and thanks for joining us here on After GMS. So glad you could be a part of our little show that we like to put together on Facebook Live every Monday through Friday at 7:45. Trianne Kirksey and Megan Malaris are working from home. Stacy Spivey is in studio with me. By the way, my name is Tracy. Nice to see you all. All right, so we're going to get started with our forecast, Trianne, which the heat and the humidity is just out of control.
Oh yeah, it's definitely going to be kind of night and day between what we had out there yesterday, the really comfortable air mass in place, and what we're going to have out there today, which is much warmer conditions, and it's going to be much more humid as well, with high temperatures today in the mid 80s with a mix of sun and clouds, and then we're in the upper 80s to low 90s starting Wednesday on through the weekend as the heat and the humidity increase. So the chance of afternoon pop-up showers and storms Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We'll keep that chance at 40% before some slightly cooler and drier air moves in as we head into early next week. That's a quick look at your 7-day forecast.
All right, let's take a look at your headlines this morning. A third night of protests ended without apparent violence in Greensboro. Monday's protest started in the afternoon and ended outside the Greensboro Police Department. Protesters called for justice in the national outcry over the police custody death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. When the 8 o'clock curfew went into place last night, most of the organized group chose to go home, but a few people remained standing on Elm Street outside of the International Civil Rights Center and Museum. WFMY News' Candace Red drove through downtown Greensboro this morning and has an update on how last night's demonstration ended.
I'm on Elm Street in downtown Greensboro, and as you can see, businesses boarded up as they prepare for the possibility of another round of George Floyd protests. Well, we know that last night protests ended about 1 hour after the citywide curfew in downtown Greensboro. Police showed up in riot gear to enforce the 8 p.m. curfew. Take a listen.
You must leave the immediate area immediately. Return to your home. If you remain in the immediate vicinity, you're in violation of the law. No matter what your purpose, you must return home.
Last night marked day 3 of George Floyd protests in downtown Greensboro. Protesters gathered in the afternoon at the International Civil Rights Center and Museum on Elm Street in February 1 Place, where they marched to the Greensboro Police Department shouting, "Black Lives Matter" and "No justice, no peace." Well, hours later, the group headed back to the museum for more demonstrations against police brutality. Well, despite the citywide curfew going into effect at 8 p.m., some protesters stayed put, locked arms, and chanted, "Hands up, don't shoot." Well, police warned protesters several times to leave the area and go home. Well, after the police moved in, the crowd dispersed around the 9 o'clock hour. Police detained at least 3 people during the protest for breaking the curfew. Police say last night's protest ended without violence or vandalism. For more information on this, all you have to do is visit our website. That's WFMYnews2.com.
All right, we want to continue this with our first conversation of the morning. And Stacy, there's a hashtag that's trending on social media this morning.
Yeah, Tracy, it's called Blackout Tuesday, and I will just bring this in full so that you can see kind of what it may look like on your feeds today. Now, this was all started by record labels and artists who want to flood feeds with black squares on Instagram and other sites. The goal, they say, is to stop music for the day so people will listen. Now, some people love the idea. Others say they believe the black squares will block people from having meaningful conversations about the issues that these protests are bringing up. I just want to show you some of the people that are, doing this today. Columbia Records, Recording Academy, Live Nation, TikTok also. They posted on their Instagram saying, "We are committed to fostering a space where everyone is seen and heard. We stand with the Black community and are proud to provide a platform where Black lives matter." Also, a lot of celebrities weighing in on this as well too. Katy Perry and Bryson Tiller, he says Black lives matter. Another post from a fan account showing that Cardi B has actually blacked out her Instagram page today. And this is just, something that you may be seeing on your feeds. I'm seeing a lot of people out there have a lot to say about it, some positivity, but then also people like this person on Twitter said, "I'm going to say it makes no sense when people's lives are in danger, and social media is the only way people can share what's really happening. I don't know how it started, but this whole no social media is stupid. So some people are upset because they believe that it's blocking the messages that need to be shared, while others are praising that in itself it's a message. By blacking out social media, people are able to Google, hey, what's this, Blackout Tuesday all about? And that's where they can find out more about how it is in protest to the death of George Floyd, and hoping to bring up a conversation about this. So I'm just curious, Tracy, have you seen it anywhere today?
Yeah, well, people are talking about this on my Twitter feed. I follow a lot of rock and hip hop and R&B legends in the business, like Mick Jagger from the Rolling Stones and Quincy Jones from the Motown days. So they are actually taking part in Blackout Tuesday as well, saying not only is it a time to stop social media, but a time to really come together and use that time more productively to find solutions to what we are now seeing as a crisis in our community. So, people, of course, are responding and saying, I will do this. And a lot of people are actually, blocking out their images, or their, what are they called? I'm not so savvy on their images and like the little
their profile picture. I think it's called something different on Instagram.
I know, but regardless, you guys know what I'm talking about. The little picture next to your name. And so people are doing that. And people are saying, you know what, let's take this even a step further, saying no shopping at all, no Netflix, no Disney Plus, no Amazon Prime, no Hulu. So they're going above what the initial call for was. But that's what's going on my feed this morning. Do you mind if I toss it over to Taran and see if he's seeing anything? I'll go ahead and do that. All right, Taran.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot on my all my feeds, actually. My personal Facebook page, my professional one, Twitter, everything. A lot of colleagues, a lot of friends that I have, made not only as a child in Alabama, of course, through college and elsewhere. So it's something that I have to pick my words carefully here, but it's something that I do appreciate seeing, to be honest, and I'm seeing a lot of that, and I'm having conversations, deep, meaningful conversations with people who I may not have had those conversations with otherwise. By seeing them posting things like that, it's kind of opened up the lines of communication for them to ask me questions about maybe some things that I've experienced that I don't really talk about too much over the years. So it's been something that has been heartening for me to see personally. Again, that's just my opinion and doesn't reflect anybody else's opinion or anything like that. But I just want to kind of be open and honest for a second there.
Yeah, we like this open and honest and transparent, Taran. Not that you don't always, bring something to the conversation, but your perspective means something to a lot of people. And I know that sometimes as news folks we're hesitant to share that. And I really think you had a genuine moment. I know that you have experienced things. And, your comfort level is important to us, so we want to make sure that we respect that, and we appreciate you adding that in. All right, Megan, what are you seeing on your feeds today?
Well, I'm seeing some of these blackout posts start to pop up on my personal feed, my work page, and of course, Instagram and Twitter accounts as well. But along the lines of social media influencers using their platforms to spark conversations and have these important dialogues, I'm seeing that happening as well. I've seen, for example, Facebook profile or an Instagram profile I follow is called Busy Toddler. It's this mom, she is a former teacher, and she posts about activities for kids to do at home, whether you can do it yourself or buy certain games, things that are really engaging and help kids learn. And so she used her platform in appealing to parents as far as promoting certain books and certain games, and the importance of making sure that kids' activities in these aspects have a great representation of children of all colors, of all nationalities, of all ethnicities. So it's really great to see some of these bloggers, especially with huge followings, using their voices to spark these important conversations.
Yeah, and these conversations will happen, whether it's the younger generation who turns to social media for all of their questions and answers, or whether it's getting around a table to actually start the process of talking and healing and figuring out the best solution, right? So Blackout Tuesday has done at least part of that, right? Starting a conversation. So Stacey, I guess it's kind of working.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll be honest with you, in the past just week or so, I think that it's really opened the conversation across the board. I've been able to have conversations with colleagues, and it's really opened my eyes to a lot of things that I don't feel like I was educated enough on before all of this. And I'm embarrassed to say that, but I really am trying, and I hope that other people are working to do better and be better after seeing this. And maybe this Blackout Tuesday is one of those movements that's going to be that trigger to get people to start talking and to start really thinking and educating themselves. And I really hope that that, is true and it happens.
Well, the process starts with each one of us, and we all have a responsibility in our community, just to be open and honest like Tehran, and share and talk and communicate and see what comes of that.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to our next talker. That was a great conversation to have with you guys. Now, as of right now, last night's curfew in Greensboro expired for this morning at 6 a.m. It could go back into effect tonight at 8 unless Mayor Nancy Vaughn decides it should be lifted. Many of you have questions about how it's enforced. Well, that's why it's our second topic for today. So let's take a closer look at how this citywide curfew works. If you're heading to and from work, going to see the doctor, or you work in a certain profession like law enforcement or the medical field, the curfew does not apply to you. Now, for those who don't fit into those categories, if you violate the curfew, you could be charged with a misdemeanor, get a $500 fine, or 30 days in jail. A lot of people are already weighing in on this on Facebook, and I'm going to scroll up so I can see the one that I did see for sure. Tammy says, I think it's a great idea, but it's not going to work. Now, if you have any questions about this, we'd love for you to join in on our chat and let us know so that we can get those questions answered for you. And while I'm looking and waiting for some comments, Tracy, I'll toss it over to you. Have you seen any questions on there, or maybe heard anything about this?
Not about the curfew, which other cities have done, including Raleigh and High Point. It's important to know that city leaders, it's not just Greensboro. Things are happening and moving all over our state and our country, and so city leaders thought this was the best thing in place. Now, I know coming into work at like 2 in the morning, there were a lot of police officers out. I don't typically go through the downtown route, although I do travel by there, and I did notice an increased presence even after the curfew at 2 a.m. So police are out there. Now, whether they're going to pull you over or not just because you're driving down the road, I don't think that's the case. But I think they want to encourage people to abide by this if you're not going to work or making a necessary trip, that the order is in place and that 8 o'clock is a firm stance. So I'm not really sure how people are reacting to that. Not sure if people have questions about it, but I know that it is in place, and the mayor's saying it could be for a while as more protests begin to kind of organize and take shape. Mm-hmm. I don't know, Megan is our Verify person, so a lot of questions come her way from time to time. I don't know if you are getting questions right now, Megan.
Well, I'm seeing on the feed, David Prater wrote that they did not enforce it last night. David, I'm not sure if you're referring to Greensboro or High Point, but we know in our reporting this morning, and as far as our Candace Red, who was out and about in Greensboro this morning, that police said last night the Greensboro demonstration ended peacefully. We know there was at least one arrest by someone who did not abide by the curfew and later climbed up the Nathaniel Green statue downtown, but that ended without issue. And again, police were just emphasizing that the arrest was because of the violation of curfew. But another question we've seen pop up is, what about businesses? Do they have to close after 8 p.m. every night? The answer is no, but the problem, as we've discussed, is that they might not have customers. So if they need to stay open to get things ready or look at inventory, that's okay. But as far as shoppers, those shoppers are going to have to abide by the curfew for as long as this stays in effect.
Yeah, and some more people are also weighing in on here. Kelly said last night after 7, all restaurants, including fast food, were closed. I was in line after work and had to leave. Sharon says, I'm not against a curfew given circumstances, but thought 9 or 10 p.m. was early enough. And Tammy says she just wishes all this would stop. Now, Kyle asked if there is a curfew in Lexington too. Tracy and Megan, I think that one of you would probably be best to answer that question. I believe at this point it's still Greensboro and High Point, right?
I have not heard about anything in Lexington at this moment, Stacy. But of course, as more cities decide that they need to enact a curfew, we'll let everybody know. But great question for sure.
Yeah, and you can keep weighing in, and hopefully we can get your questions answered right here on the feed. But I think we want to go ahead and take a look at our news headlines.
Yeah, I'll take over from here, Stace. Thanks. A few of our morning headlines right now. A Greensboro business owner thinks the curfews are a good idea. Dr. Eunice Dudley says owns Dudley Cosmetology University on South Elm Street. Vandals hit the beauty school over the weekend. Dr. Dudley says this is a good time to regroup and figure out a productive way to enact change both here and worldwide. Well, firefighters say the mattress firm on Lawndale Drive in Greensboro was intentionally set over this weekend. They say vandalism is the apparent reason for the fire. They didn't give any information about possible suspects or say whether the fire was linked to rioters, but they did tell us this investigation is underway. A Greensboro protester is arrested after climbing on top of the base of the Nathaniel Greene statue at the roundabout on Green Street. It happened around 9 o'clock Monday night. A ladder truck was able to go up there, get him down without issue. Police took him into custody. He was one of 2 protesters arrested Monday.
All right, here's the last look at your forecast. Your heat and humidity build again as we go through the rest of the week. We'll see a mix of sun and clouds today. High temperatures in the mid 80s. And they were in the upper 80s to low 90s after that as we go through the weekend. And you know how it is this time of the year as you combine the heat and the humidity. Sometimes you see pop-up showers and storms during the afternoon. And I think we'll have a chance of that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday before slightly cooler and drier air moves in as we head into early next week. That's the last look at your 7-day forecast.
Yeah, that's the part of summer-like temperatures that I don't enjoy. When you mix all the H's, heat, hot, humidity. There's a few more, I'm sure. But when you get all of them together, it's always bad news.
Yeah, especially for our hair, right?
Oh, and that's the other H, you know?
Yeah, hair, bad hair. Because your hair just grows in the humidity. Mine is just goes like this. It's bad. It gets really frizzy, and it's not a cute sight to see.
Well, I'm actually looking forward to seeing that.
Oh, okay.
All right, guys, thanks so much for joining us on After GMS. Glad to leave you with a smile this morning. We talked about a few heavy topics here, but it is important to get the conversation going, and we appreciate you being a part of that. We'll be back here tomorrow at 7:45 for After GMS on Facebook Live. We'll see you later, and take care.